Welcome to Truth by Billie Beene, a flash update. Today's date, March 25, 2025, time in Texas, about 3 p.m. I have a subscribe button in the lower right corner of my screen. Thanks for like, subscribe, and share, and for hitting the like button. That helps my channel to grow. Some of my sources for this flash: CHRISTEFEROU, Alexander MERCOURIS, Duran, Judge Napolitano's many interviews, Hal Turner, plus some of the things we'll cover. The U.S. Mill is sending, or has already sent, 7 bombers. And the name on those bombers appears to be Iran. And Ukraine, a Sampson option. So let's get started. I'll begin with the new information about the B-52s. Now, late last night, New York PEPE came out with information about B-52s being moved around. And late this afternoon, Hal Turner's intel confirmed that this is true. Now, in my earlier flash, I brought out near Israel, we have 4 U.S. carriers. Well, we have the Truman, we have the Vincent en route, and also en route we have the Abraham Lincoln and the Eisenhower. We also have 2 from other nations. France has positioned a carrier group of the De Gaulle, and India has positioned its carrier group, Vibrant. So that's going on. And now we're finding out that, so we have Iran in this area, India. In this area, we have a U.S. military island, Diego Garcia. It's now being confirmed that 7 B-52s are already positioned on Diego Garcia. So we have this coming out this afternoon, confirmed by covert intel and picked up by and communicated by Hal Turner. We had initial reports of 3 stealth B-52 bombers being moved to Diego Garcia last night. Easily, their range covers Yemen and Iran. And then subsequent to that report, Hal Turner received intel that 4 more B-52s had already been moved to Diego Garcia. So we have 7 out of the U.S. military's B-52 group of 19. We have 7 out of 19 now positioned on the U.S. military installation, Diego Garcia, in the Indian Ocean, easily within range to hit both Yemen and Iran. So it appears that the Middle East is may soon go up in flames. Now we'll talk about what's going on between the U.S., Russia, and Ukraine. So we've got Ukraine, the areas claimed by Russia, where the people had voted to join Russia: Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia, Kherson. In Zaporizhzhia, we have the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Now, the psychopathic leaders of Ukraine, Zelensky and Budanov, and we know that Budanov, the leader of the Ukraine Intel Group, has put Last year, assassins in the U.S., with their target being President Trump. So we have Zelensky and Budanov saying that they want to take over the nuclear power plant. Well, they have control of them. They also want control of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant that's in the Russian-claimed territory, Zaporizhzhia. So we have Budanov saying this about a year or two ago, and the Sampson option is a military option that Israel put in place decades ago. What it means is, if Israel was going to be destroyed, Israel would light up all their nukes, take themselves out, plus the countries attacking them. It was called the Sampson option. Ukraine and the leaders of Ukraine, Zelensky, Budanov, are putting in place a similar military operation I'm calling Ukraine's Sampson option. So we have Budanov putting this out, that Ukraine wants to put in place a Sampson option. We had a Ukraine head intel person, Olensky Prezotovya, putting this out. He's currently operating as a journalist who says the Ukraine government 2020 to 2023 put together this Sampson option-like plan. And the plan is, if Ukraine loses, they will blow up all of the Ukraine nuclear power plants and as many Russian nuclear power plants as Ukraine can get to, so that if Ukraine dies, as many as possible also die. This could be behind the move and operation of Ukraine and NATO to go into traditional Russia last August to lay hold on the Kursk nuclear power plant. Apparently, that's part of their plan. And we have this. Hal Turner is reporting this, that an F-16 was taken down and the pilot was killed within the last couple of days. It's believed it was a NATO pilot. But the new information that's coming out, this was in the Sumy area. The F-16 and the NATO pilot were seen or spotted by a Russian Su-35 in Belarus. New information to the U.S. military is that the Russian Su-35 communicated in the Kursk area with a Russian S-400 air defense system that then hit the F-16 over Sumy inside Ukraine. This was new information to the U.S. military that the Russian fighter jets can also communicate with their air defense and set off a bomb. So that happened. This is similar to the U.S. military's ability of the U.S. F-22 and the U.S. F-35 to also communicate with U.S. air defense systems and light off a missile. So we see Russia has the same capability. From Dr. William Mount, talking about President Trump taking on secret societies. These are the same secret societies, ancient enemies, as talked about by President Kennedy before his assassination, of course. And we have this. In the past 7 to 10 days, 12 independent conservative journalists have been hit by swatting. In other words, someone calls in a fake call. Oh, this guy is killing his wife and kids, and the law enforcement sends out a SWAT team. Pam Bondi, President Trump's AG, is going to investigate what's been going on. And we have this. So it's believed that this Ukraine Sampson option information has come out in the past several months, and this, it's believed, is behind President Trump's recent notice that the U.S. wants to take control of the Ukraine power plants. So we have the Ukraine nuclear power plants. We have 4 reactors near Lviv, that's near Kherson and Kiev. And near Lviv, that's near Poland. We have also another 4 reactors. And in Odessa, we have another plant that has, looks like 3 reactors. And the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, the largest nuclear power plant in Europe, has 6 reactors. So we see Budanov and Zelensky making moves to set up, to blow a 4-reactor nuclear power plant near Kiev, a 4 near Lviv, a 3 near Odessa. Of course, and we see Zelensky and Budanov trying to take control of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, but it's under control of Russia. And we see President Trump now saying that the U.S. wants to take control of all the nuclear power plants inside Kiev. And oh yeah, recently that happened the latter part of 2024, early 2025. So in the U.S., we had New York, we had New Jersey, and we were seeing and hearing about ETs, or drones, going around and around in this area, particularly over New Jersey. And President Trump came out after he was inaugurated and said, those are our drones, and so on. Now it comes out, yes, those were U.S. drones, and many vehicles that were being described as ET ships. That's simply a demonstration of U.S. military new technology. But it's come out recently that, yes, those were U.S. military drones and ET-like ships. And what were they looking for? They were looking for 2 Ukraine nuclear bombs that Intel had found out had been planted by Zelensky and Budanov. So that's going on. And now we have this. from Fox News, talking about these recent meetings between Ukraine and Russia and the U.S. We know they were taking place in Saudi Arabia. So we had meetings between the U.S. and Russia and between the U.S. and Ukraine. Peace meetings. So Fox News is reporting that they talked about a ceasefire in the Black Sea and continuing the ceasefire of energy locations, and talked about the U.S. owning the Ukraine electrical grid and nuclear power plants. So that's going on. And now we have this from Alex CHRISTEFEROU. Puts forth that during the course of these meetings, Zelensky said he would only allow NATO peacekeepers, not UN. And we know Russia has said no. And regarding the U.S.-Russia meeting, March 23, in Saudi Arabia, Ukraine has said they are discussing a ceasefire in the Black Sea, and that Russia is putting forth that even the ceasefire regarding energy infrastructure has been violated by Ukraine, and Ukraine says Russia violated it. And we have the, what can you say about Ukraine being supported by U.S. money, weapons, and intel, and planting nuclear bombs in New Jersey to kill American citizens? Can it be, or do we wonder, if Zelensky and Budanov are on anyone's list? Just saying. And now we have this from Dr. William Mount, that President Trump invokes States Secret Act that came out in 1953 after President Eisenhower met with the ETs, and that Ukraine wants to blow up the nuclear power plants in Ukraine. Well, it appears that Ukraine also wants to blow up American citizens inside America. From Hal Turner. So some details about the recent meeting in Saudi Arabia. And initially, after the meeting, it was put forth by a Russian spokesperson, Peskov. The details are not being released. This came out today. But there is a plan for future meetings, and that the meeting between the U.S. and Russia that lasted for 12 hours in Saudi Arabia Monday was very intense. So that's going on. And now the U.S. has put out some information late this afternoon about details of the U.S.-Russian meeting in Saudi Arabia. And it is regarding putting in place a ceasefire in the Black Sea, and that commercial ships cannot carry weapons in the Black Sea, and that the U.S. will help Russia to export agriculture and fertilizer to the world market, and to access ports and payment systems. So it's believed the U.S. will facilitate Russia using the U.S. dollar. And further, to continue the ceasefire on energy infrastructure, and it is being welcomed by the U.S. and Russia for third nations to assist in implementing the peace agreements. U.S. and Russia will continue to pursue a permanent peace. And Hal Turner's intel is also confirming that the U.S. will remove sanctions against Russia regarding agriculture products and fertilizer, and that the U.S. and Russia are agreed commercial ships cannot be used for military purposes, and that the U.S. and Russia will continue new measures to facilitate a ceasefire on energy infrastructure, and that they both agree to pursue a permanent peace. So it's good to be in prayer for America, President Trump, the U.S. military, and world peace. I love you, and I'll see you soon.